Hello, hello. It seems like maybe we're going. All right, sick. We're streaming. I wanted to play with a little live stream today. Sorry for that little dead air in the beginning. I don't normally live stream, so I don't really have all the technology like spick and span. So bear with me if it gets a little bit out of the ordinary, but I'm trying my best. If you happen to hop in, let me know if I can adjust the settings at all to make things better. Anyway, I've got some interesting stuff to talk about today. Not just current events, not just all the crazy stuff that you've been hearing about a million times, but let's get a little bit personal today. But this also fits the theme of the channel, which mostly has been gardening and farming. I do a little bit of DIY as well. I've been, for those who don't know, working in home remodeling for the past 2 or 3 years, mostly cabinet installation and some other finished carpentry, although I did a couple other things as well when we didn't have cabinets to install. I got a lot of tools. I learned a lot of cool stuff, although I didn't really love working in the industry, and I kept always gardening on the side. I was doing tons of gardening in my dad's yard. I got another place out here for myself, and I was doing tons of gardening in that yard as well, and growing most of my plant starts there. So while I was working construction, I just kept growing and growing and growing plant starts, and eventually I had so many starts from really good germination, good success, that I was like, let me see if some of my neighbors maybe want some of these plants. So I posted on Nextdoor. I know it's hard to navigate that site, but I digress. I posted on Nextdoor, hey, I've got some plants, posted the pictures of the plants. People started hitting me up and buying plants. So I was working full time, doing construction, and then also my little side hobby of gardening was kind of paying for itself because people were buying plants off me. So that was pretty cool. I met some pretty interesting people. I met some cool people. Some people continue to buy plants off me, but it was just a little side hustle. It didn't really make me any money. I didn't think much of it. Besides, I was like, where I'm at in Southern California in Orange County, there's not a lot of land for farming per se. And I really like growing plants. And so one of the constellations that I kind of made to myself was like, hey, what if instead of being a farmer, because I can't get that much land out here and it's so expensive, if you were to get it, you'd have to farm for like decades before you could pay it off, hypothetically, unless you got really creative. And who's going to invest in that when you don't have the money on hand? Not that it wouldn't be a good investment to buy land, because land seems to just always be going up in value. Anyway, I digress. So I was like, wow, there's kind of a lack of good nurseries out here. That's one of the reasons I was growing a lot of my own plants, is because if you spend your money at the nurseries to buy plant starts for your garden, you could be spending a pretty penny pretty quickly. So I took it upon myself to grow my own starts, realized other people were pretty happy with that, realized that there's a lack of nurseries. I was like, maybe I could get some people to like invest in a nursery. And I just kept working construction. Things would get rough sometimes, really frustrating. You feel like you're just breaking your body, you're breaking your tools, you're breaking your car to maybe not make enough money that I was making pretty good money. But here's the thing. I was stuck in that dead zone. And this is a real thing. Like, if you make less than a certain amount of money, you get access to more benefits. And if you make more than a certain amount of money, you probably also get access to more benefits in the form of either, they'll say, oh, they pay higher taxes, but also there's things like tax write-offs. There's things like rebates that you get, like the electric vehicle thing or solar panels. You have to either have money to buy an electric vehicle, or you have to have a house to put solar panels on to even be viable for those things. So there's money that you get on the high end. There's money that you get on the low end in the form of benefits for like healthcare or food stamps. But where I was at, I was just making just enough money that was really hard to survive, but I couldn't really afford healthcare and stuff because that was also out of reach, and I wasn't, I didn't qualify for any of the low price options. So that was pretty rough as well. So it wasn't the best situation, but I was just grinding through it, learning things, still gardening, growing tons of plants, hundreds and hundreds of different varieties of plants every year. Did that for a couple of years, like I said, and eventually I had an opportunity to try a different path of work. I actually got an opportunity to do a little bit of work on a farm to table in San Juan Capistrano, still in Orange County, close to where I'm at. And I'm like, whoa, really? Farming in the vicinity to where I live just didn't even really seem like a prospect, or to the extent that it was. Maybe you could be like a landscaper, or you could work on somebody's yard, but you didn't really have a steady thing. You weren't really farming per se. So with all of that, the opportunity to do farming, albeit only part-time, I was like, oh, heck yeah, I got to try this out. I got to jump on this opportunity. They were doing no-till methods, which I personally like the concept of no-till market gardening. And since we don't even have to bring stuff to market, it just goes straight to a restaurant, that cuts out of the equation the whole concept of having to sell the stuff that you're growing. It's already kind of sold before you even grow it. So that's pretty cool. So took that opportunity, and yeah, I'm officially a farmer. So after all these years of just growing plants and being like, oh, it'd be cool, but I don't live in the right area and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Boom, I'm actually farming part-time. There's nothing wrong with farming part-time either. I've heard a lot of people say it's a great way to actually start doing it because you need to figure out how to balance a lot of different things that you have going on, and going whole hog sometimes into something can be a little bit rough. So this is pretty cool. I'm having the opportunity to actually work on a farm, growing stuff, harvesting it for people to eat at a restaurant, as well as I'm growing plants in my little nursery at my house still. So what I'm still hoping to do is get a nursery in this area because there is a lack of good quality specialty nurseries out here. A lot of the ones that have been out here before have closed down even, like the native plant nurseries and the specialty design nurseries, etc. So I still think it'd be really cool to have a nursery down here, but also I'm just practicing everything I can in regards to nurseries. I'm both growing plants for myself, growing plants for my neighbors. I'm also growing plants for the farm to table that I work at to help supplement my income with the part-time hours. So I'm pretty stoked right now. Happy to be able to have a little bit more time to potentially make more videos, because that's something that a couple of years ago I was like, man, I'm not really able to express myself very much with this form of work, doing all this remodeling. It just feels like work, 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 and then you're so tired. And I was like, I want to post more stuff. I want to start sharing more DIY stuff with people, sharing more gardening, farming stuff with people, and not just like in a, oh, check this out, but more in an educational, let me break this down, let me talk about the concepts behind this, as well as just doing a little bit of commentary on current events and social things going on, because I feel like there are a lot of people that are paid to be on the internet telling you something, and I'm not paid to be on the internet telling you something. And even to an extent, there's a lot of people that make ad revenue, but they're not like paid directly. I'm talking about the people that just get like paid directly, like, hey, post this now. Hey, post that you like this. Hey, talk about our shoes. Hey, talk about our brand. It's kind of weird. The internet feels like somewhere where you can't really trust the people that you're listening to a lot of the time. And so a part of me was like, with all that noise, you've got AI slop, you've got people that are being paid to tell you an opinion. It feels like the reality of how people are actually feeling kind of gets lost in the mix sometimes. So one of the things that I'm trying to do as well with this channel is not just bring you DIY content, not just bring you gardening content that maybe you can apply to your own situations to help you save a buck or experience something different, more joyful out of your current situation, the way you're interacting with it, whether it's just eating some fresh food or just building something, doing something for yourself. I also want to provide on the side some commentary just about what I'm seeing in my day-to-day life, where I'm at, because we're all in different bubbles, right? So if we're not all sharing the kind of stuff that we're seeing, not just what we're seeing online, but what we're seeing in real life with each other, I think it's going to be hard for people to reconcile with the fact that there are so many different ways that you could be seeing the world and that the world could be interacting with you, that you could be like, in my bubble, people act like this. But in a different bubble, they never seen anything like what you're talking about. They don't even know what you're talking about. So we got to remember that sometimes people just haven't seen the kind of stuff. And so in a way, I mean, a lot of people like to talk crap on the live streamers, but I do feel like they are kind of serving a purpose, and it does take a little bit more effort to do it like this, not just the live, but like to pull up separate windows where you're playing videos on the side. And I feel like that could be very beneficial because it's hard to navigate the news landscape. So when you are watching a live streamer, I think of them sometimes when they're sharing content with you, they're kind of like news jockeys, you know, like disc jockeys, DJs, how they bring you different music, they mix it together, they play it all for you in an order that you're like, oh man, that just flowed. And I feel like some people could bring the news that way, although I feel like other people also will just spin the news as much as they can. So the more people could just be out there, normal people talking, hey, this is what I'm saying, this is what's going on, not be trying to put a spin on it, but just be like, are you seeing this the way I'm seeing it? Like, I feel like that could be important for our country right now because stuff's pretty weird. All right, so moving on. I'm a farmer. It's official. Let's talk about a little bit what I've been hearing about in farm news as well as how the war with Iran has been affecting certain farm things. I'm not going to get too much into detail about that because there's a lot of other people that are dissecting that more thoroughly, but we all know that the cost of oil was affected, is affected, could be getting a little bit better, but for how long, and how long will those effects of when it got bad be affecting the price of the goods that we consume, whether that's food, whether that's just day-to-day necessities. So we've got that. The fertilizer thing, a lot of fertilizer comes through the Strait of Hormuz. So it could be very difficult if you have a shortage at one period of time as a farmer. You still have to buy stuff. So I'm not exactly sure how everyone's going to fare out from this, but I could expect prices to be going up on a few things. So like all time, or it's like that saying, like the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. And so if you've been wanting to get into growing your own stuff, like there is a reason to be doing it. It does help with the global supply chain not being so precarious. It does help with you understanding what seasons things could be got in your area for a good price. It helps with you understanding what it takes to actually grow something. You could appreciate your food a little bit more, and it's good exercise, and you get out in the sun, which a lot of people say is good for you, right? So you gotta just enjoy your life a little bit. And so if everything is just like, well, I'm not going to grow it at home, I'm not going to do it because it doesn't make enough money, because it's not as profitable, it's not as good, it's whatever. I don't know. I think you could achieve a lot of things by yourself, because we think that just because somebody is like doing a bunch of money in sales, whether that's a farmer or whether it's a remodeling company, a cabinet selling company, for example, oh, they did this bajillion dollars of sales, so they're the best company. No, they just have the cheapest price and they're selling the most cabinets because it's economy of scale. So we have this weird thing going on where people are like, man, this is still pretty expensive, but they don't realize like you are buying the most mass-produced, cheap thing that you can have access to, basically. And so when you're buying food at the grocery store, and when you're buying like mass manufactured cabinets and stuff, it's coming from places that are so big they just cannot have the same quality control and attention to detail that they could have in a smaller operation. You see like videos of like a tractor harvesting like a bajillion carrots a second. That seems kind of gross. It seems like a lot of ways that stuff could get on my carrots. I know, I guess I'm going to wash them first, but like I'd rather just have them come out of the ground, be rinsed off and put to the side like in a bin. I don't really want them to like touch every other carrot that was in the field. And I feel like that's where I feel like actually that is where a lot of pathogens come from, is not from the field but from wash and pack stations. So your food, when you're getting it from the farmer directly or when you're growing it yourself, you're getting it out of the dirt, and then you rinse it, you put it in the fridge, whatever, if it needs to be refrigerated. And there's not an opportunity for pathogens to get on it because there's just so few vectors. You're in the ground, you're in your sink, you're in the fridge. Only a couple opportunities. Most of those places you probably keep clean. If you're not using fresh manure, I mean, as long as you're, using safe gardening practices, you shouldn't really have much in your dirt. You shouldn't have that E. coli like in your sink really, and rinse those carrots, wash them properly, put them away. You're not gonna have those issues. But for instance, with something like lettuce is one where it happens a lot. In the wash pack station, the lettuce gets washed like 3 times, but then it still has to get packed and put into those containers, and there's plenty of opportunity for pathogens to get onto your lettuce either through the workers or through the unsanitary machinery and the environment of like, think about how much easier it is to clean your own individual sink versus if you had like these giant wash tubs. Like you could imagine, or if you've ever worked in a back of house anywhere, that could get a little dirty. So besides that, I also feel like working on a monocrop farm sounds like terrible. I would not want to work on a monocrop farm. And also, it creates migrant labor necessity. People say, oh, we could do those jobs that the migrant laborers are doing. No, you can't. Do you understand that there's a whole town somewhere that is just nothing but like apple trees around it, and you only harvest those at like a few months of the year? So for the rest of the year, what the heck is everyone doing? Just taking care of the apple trees? Well, they don't need that much care. But you do need a bunch of people to harvest apples. So then what are you going to do? Oh, you got to ship in the labor, at the time of harvesting of the apples. So this is one of the reasons that I really don't like giant monocrops is they create a lot of different problems, not just in the form of nitrogen runoff, not just in the form of pollution, not just in the form of soil degradation, not just in the form of breeding superbugs, but on top of that, it doesn't even make sense for our economy, like in terms of like, do you really want a town that you drive through and it's so nothing but apples that people can't even afford to live there because they can't find work? I don't know, man. It just sounds a little dystopian to me. But that's where we get when we go for economies of scale. We're going super giant, and there is right now. It's something that you'll see like kind of the Maha crowd harping on that, like, hey, we need to go all organic. We need to do all this right now. And it's like, yeah, it'd be great if we started moving things in the right direction, but right now our world is really built on stilts and put together with duct tape and bubble gum, and it's very precarious. If there's fertilizer shortages like we're talking about, the way our food system is set up, you can't just shift it. You can't just overnight go, oh, we're going to go organic now, and now we don't need fertilizer anymore. It's not how it works. So it would take time to shift this, and I do think, to not harp on this for too much longer, but I do think one of the ways that we could encourage people to start growing organically is to stop taxing people that grow organically. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. It's not necessarily a tax, but you do have to get certified organic. And I understand it costs money for these people to come to your farm and certify you organic, but should the organic grower pay for that? I think not. I think honestly, all of the farms should be getting audited, and it shouldn't necessarily be on who's organic and who's not organic, but they should be monitoring runoff. They should be monitoring your soil health. They should be monitoring whether what you're doing is going to leave the land that you're working on in a terrible condition, a terrible state for the next person, whether you're creating pollution for the groundwater. Like, you should see the groundwater in Iowa, I believe. The nitrogen is off the charts, and that's what gives people cancer. So it's like, this is bad. I mean, and when nitrogen runs off, you can see like Lake Okeechobee in Florida, or here in California, we get the phytoplankton bloom, and that's causes toxicity in ocean life. So, and birds and other things, they eat that, they eat the fish that are consuming the phytoplankton, and it makes them, they go up on the beach and they're like, and everyone's like, oh, look at the seal. And it's like, the seal's dying. This is actually sad. This isn't a cute time to get a photo op with the seal right now. Anyway, so there's a lot of bad things. There's a lot of bad practices being done in big ag, monocrop agriculture specifically. But it is what's holding up, like, everything we know and everything we hold dear right now. Like, your ability to just have the food that you want at any time of year, like, it's being held up by that system. So if we don't create some alternative systems, and I mean, what I'm working on right now, super small. I would love to be working on a bigger project, and hopefully this will give me the skills to have the opportunity to do that. I mean, one of the goals is always to get the nursery, then build up the nursery. With a nursery, you can actually rent land and run that business. So I don't have to have as much capital to start the nursery necessarily. Then if you got a nursery going, it kind of makes more sense to be able to, like, somewhere else, maybe a little further inland, or where I can get some cheaper acreage, start a farm over there, and maybe you could do, or maybe I could do some like extra trees that I can't fit in the nursery at the smaller property that I would have here in Orange County. So I'm still looking to farm. I still want to put people's hands like in the dirt, like in the sense of, I understand where my food's coming from. I understand what it takes to grow this. I understand that there is a way to do it in a mass-produced way, but maybe we should also have other systems in place to do it locally for when we have problems with the global supply chain, because it's so precarious. And we saw that during COVID, and we see that with the Strait of Hormuz closing. So, and maybe, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that crap right now. I mean, let's harp on that for a second. Let's just, what the heck is going on? Because right now I see people complaining that Donald Trump didn't get a good enough deal with the Iranians. And I see most people overall are like, oh my God, thank God this is done for now. But it's not done. It's never done. It's just like more bombs the next day. The ceasefire is always being broken. So I'm not going to call this like done in any capacity, but let's just talk about it from where it was, like, 24 hours ago, when they were like, oh, we've got it. We've settled it all. It's like, but we didn't get anything out of it. We just caused problems. And from my point of view, that's why we need to get the heck out of there. That's why it's actually a good thing that we're just stopping, if we ever are. But I mean, it's tough. it's tough because we got Israel out there. Israel's just running amok, and I don't know, man. It's just gonna be rough. Wish we weren't doing it. Wish we weren't doing it at all. That's one of my consistent takes, is that I'm pretty anti-war. I can't think of many situations where war seems like it was the right option, or that at least in the situations where maybe it was the right option, where there weren't still mistakes made and atrocities committed in these wars. I just feel like everybody loses. It's terrible. It's some monkey brain crap, and it feels so frustrating when you have these people that are supposed to be like, oh, we're the brightest minds, we're going to help everyone, we're the politicians, we're going to bring everybody into a brighter future, hope, change, whatever. And then we're just like bombing people in third world countries so that they can never compete with us on the global economy. Like, it's disgusting. It honestly pisses me off. I had this I was almost being ironic with it, but I did have this prediction that I put out in a short form YouTube video, a YouTube short, as it were. And it was, I was like, well, because this was at the time that everyone was like, Trump's going to bring peace to the world. Trump's the peace president. Peacetime. Peace, peace. Peace, Trump. Peace, Trump. Trump's a peacenik. Whatever. All that BS during the last presidential election. And I was like, okay, if Trump does bring peace to the region, it'll be because he does more war. And then the Democrats, even though they were just funding and doing all the war and genocide before, will be like, no, we're going to be anti-war because we're anti-Trump. But guess what? Trump did what I expected him to do. But the Democrats, the spineless, AIPAC-controlled frickin' Democrats, like the Chuck Schumer types. I'm not talking about every single Democrat, and I'm not talking about every single Republican, because I know some of them are speaking out and anti-war. I'm just saying. The ones leading the Republican Party, Trump and them, and the ones leading the Democrat Party, Chuck Schumer, they just are war hawks. It's disgusting. How are we continuing to elect people that just want to do more war, cause more damage, more destruction, more chaos? I hate it as an American. I hate it. Wanted to just call that out. I'm sure a lot of y'all all hate it too. If anyone watches this live stream, I don't even know if I did it right, but here I am doing it, live streaming, trying it out. Anyway, so what's next? What's next for this channel is I do have a little bit more of a flexible schedule now. I know, hard pivot from talking about war. Segue. Okay, so the future of this channel is going to be me hopefully having time to do a little bit more videos, talking in the microphone, so it's easy to consume if you're just listening on a headphone or something. I want to give more tutorials. I want to share more of what I learned in the remodeling industry, DIY hacks, how you could fix stuff in your house. I also want to share with you how to grow things in the ground, in pots, in beds, just so that you could learn about plants, because I think they're friggin' awesome. And hopefully this will help me in my journey to open a nursery, and hopefully after that open a farm, but let's one step at a time. So I'm going to keep this going, keep this channel going, try to be posting a little bit more. Thank all you guys for tuning in to the channel in general, even if I don't think really anyone tuned into this live stream, but who cares? Here I am doing it anyway, because yeah, I just wanted to check it out and see how it worked. I think I did it all right. I think I had it set up all right. We'll see. I'll check it out later. Anyway, next time I do this, hopefully I'll have some fun clips to show you guys. Like I said, that's a little bit more difficult, so I want to be doing more of that, where I'm showing you either stuff in the news or clips of what people are talking about online, and we can react to those and give our informed takes where we have them. I don't want to just yap and just be like, oh yeah, I think that's good, or oh yeah, I think that's bad. No. There's things that I'm pretty well read on, and I would love to share what I know about those things. And also, we got to talk about politics, because, I mean, it is what it is. We got to do that sometimes. So I'll be out here sharing my opinion, trying to keep it real. Hope to see you guys there. Like and subscribe. That's it. Peace.